So world leaders and human rights organizations have condemned Uganda's anti-homosexuality bill. Members of parliament in that country passed a document last month which imposes heavy fines and jail terms for same-sex acts and on people who identify as gay. So let's focus on the protection of gay communities in Africa. And for that, let's bring in our guests. Access Chapter 2 spokesperson is Mpho Buntse. Also joining us is Papa D. Delavi Gwagala, who's the first non-binary queer photographer in Uganda. To both our guests, it's lovely to have you on the program. Thanks so much indeed for making time to speak to us. Mpho, I wonder if I can begin with you. You know, there is, depending on who you speak to, this kind of silent resentment on South Africa because it's seen as this haven for queer people who want to fully express themselves in this country. And it, I guess, also falls into that kind of narrative around South African exceptionalism. Of course, activists in the space will completely speak out against that. But how do you reckon we've responded to that as a country?
Thank you very much, Ayanda, and a very good morning to your viewers. Our position as a collective remains that first and foremost, we are dealing with one of the greatest challenges embedded in this idea that homosexuality is un-African. And part and parcel of our work has always been to demystify this misconception, because it's also seen at how churches or the religious space uses this misconception to actually condemn the LGBTQ community. So as part of our work, we need to conscientize not only government, but to conscientize the rest of society on, unlearning what they think they know about same-sex desiring.
Yeah. Papa D, let's bring you into the discussion. I mean, you know, a lot of these times the conversations take place among parliamentarians, perhaps among academics, and it almost feels, sometimes, not always, that we miss the nuance that comes with those who have the lived experience. What's been your experience around not only this latest conversation, but being a queer person in Uganda?
Thank you so much for obviously giving me the platform to share my lived experience. At the moment, to be honest, I feel like I'm just so heartbroken with everything that is happening. The Parliament of Uganda voted 95% and rejoiced at the fact that they were criminalizing our existence. But not only that, they're also taking away our rights to housing, our rights to education, our rights to medication, and our rights to privacy. As a queer person, your landlord is obligated to throw you out of the house, even under the suspicion of you being queer. Your friend, your neighbor, your relative is obligated to report your sexuality to the police. We do not have any right to go to the police and say that we've been harmed, you know, because then they will arrest us. And it's so crazy because using religion to criminalize an already marginalized community, it is really not the way to go. And what I would like to say is call upon world leaders, especially President Ramaphosa, because as you said initially that South Africa promotes itself as this queer heaven, you know, that protects and cares for its queer people. But at the same time, we have borders crossed, like we have borders closed on us, you know, people who are seeking asylum can't even leave. We need organizations to stand up and ask, what can we do in these moments? What are we trying to communicate, you know, which message are we trying to do? Because this is not just a queer issue. It is a human rights issue. So we need to stand together in solidarity and come together and ask, what are we doing? How are we making it easy for the people that need to leave, you know, to actually access the services that I need? We need mental health services that are to be provided to the queer people that are on the ground, because I don't even know how to put it, but we do not have any rights whatsoever. Yeah. And that is an issue that everyone should be talking about.
Absolutely. Papa D, are you currently in Uganda?
No, I am not in Uganda. I'm in Johannesburg. Okay. I left Uganda 3 weeks ago, and I was supposed to go back, and I was notified that I'll be arrested at the airport because of my work and my visibility. I started the platform called #OneNext month ago to share information and fundraise for my queer siblings in Uganda, and that's why I can't go back. So basically, I'm in exile, and it's not a good feeling, to be honest.
Absolutely, I can imagine. And that's exactly why I was asking. I was trying to gauge to what extent even doing an interview like this and being so visible would actually be a threat essentially to your freedom.
Exactly, it is. And I think the other thing that people have not, people are not understanding is that visibility without protection is also a death sentence. At the moment, as I speak here with my visibility, highlighting the issue that at hand, it is not because I'm brave. I'm scared shitless because my family is still at home. They're already being threatened because of the work that I'm doing. But we also don't have a choice because I know for sure that I am privileged to be in a position to be here to speak about our issues, yet most of my siblings are in isolation and they can't even afford any visibility whatsoever. All of the organizations and most activists have been paralyzed, already before the passing of the bill. So they can't speak up, nothing can be done. And we're just there waiting for who to save us. We can't afford to hide anymore. Like, I do not have the privilege to hide behind anything anymore. Absolutely. We need to speak up. We need to call for solidarity. We need allyship right now. Again, as I said, this is not just a Ugandan issue. It is a ripple effect that is flowing into other African countries. I mean, Museveni is on having platforms talking about, calling for strategic African end to homosexuality. Now today is Uganda, but tomorrow it's not. Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, they're also suffering in the same cause, with this barbaric religious radical movement of, pushing for anti-homosexuality, falling genocide onto black queer bodies. We are not criminals. We don't owe anyone anything, but we deserve every right to live as free as we can.
Absolutely. And apologies to our viewers there for that expletive that made its way through. Mpho, it does raise a lot of questions about what allyship should look like in this context. It feels like the stakes are certainly much higher than they've been in our recent past. South Africa, once again, looked at as a kind of beacon. But, I mean, you juxtapose that with the fact that Yoweri Museveni was in this country just a few weeks ago, and there was no discussion whatsoever, even from our own president, about human rights violations, let alone any kind of anti-homosexuality sentiment.
Indeed, Ayanda. In fact, our position is that South Africa's silence on this matter is very deafening. We play, or we could potentially play, one of the greatest roles in terms of influencing President Yoweri Museveni. Like you rightly indicate, he was on our shores just a couple of weeks ago, and part and parcel of the deliberations between him and our very own president were supposed to be around the protection of the human rights of LGBTIQ people in that country. We know that Uganda is deliberately contravening the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which expresses the protection of LGBTIQ people against torture, the abuse that we've been seeing emerging out of many African countries, including Uganda itself, which, by the way, is a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But over and above this, we are seeing Uganda, going against many tenets of, many of the treaties and resolutions that they are part and parcel of, including Resolution 275, which protects the LGBTQ in this regard. So I think us being bystanders on this issue has become, a commonplace, because South Africa has this tendency to sit back and relax where it concerns issues of LGBTQ in the continent.
Yeah. Papa D, I wonder whether you're able to tell us a bit more about the experience of queer people who are still in Uganda. I know you touched on this briefly, but what does survival on a daily basis look like, given that this bill is now essentially on Yoweri Museveni's desk, but also given just how much of a spotlight is on the country now, especially around queer issues?
To be honest, at the moment, in the current Uganda, with the passing of the bill, there is no survival of queer life whatsoever. With the platform, the hashtag What Next platform, we do have an email that is receiving requests of help from people on the ground. And most of the needs have been medication, have been rehousing in safe houses, have been mental health services, because honestly, before the government kills us, depression is going to kill us. Because you can't dump all of these trauma and experiences onto just one person. Like, how much strength does it take to hold on to life when you are going through that, when the entire country is up, like is literally like against you and your entire existence? People are being thrown out. People are being threatened that the moment Museveni signs the bill, they're not going to wait for the police to deal with them. They will handle them themselves, you know. And that is the fear that is being instilled within the community. People are not able to get out of the houses. They are in isolation because the moment they get out, they're afraid of mob justice, because the communities have been rallied, not the queer communities, the local communities have been rallied to believe that homosexuality is this sin that is out to get them, that is out to get their children, that we're recruiting their children in the school system and whatnot. People have no food to eat. You know, qualified people that had jobs before, but when the government started closing out organizations and investigating organizations, you know, and outing members of the organizations, many people were left jobless. So qualified people who are capable fully to do work to earn their living are not able to, because they are in hiding. Until when can we be silent? Until when can we let the fear of persecution get to us? Until when can we leave? You know, it is barbaric. It's like everything that is going on is inhuman. I don't know why they can't see that, or simply they don't care. But like, we are also tired of being scapegoats to political issues, the shit that they don't talk about. You know, they're distracting people and diverting their attention to issues, you know, that are non-issues. Because homosexuality is not any issue in Uganda. It's not affecting anyone whatsoever. The situation is dire. I want people to start asking questions. How can we help? You know, we have a fundraiser that is ongoing. You can check it out on #WhatNext, that is supporting people directly that are on the ground that are seeking for help. Yeah. We need to start thinking about action-based interventions other than, you know, like just speaking about this. How are we collectively coming in solidarity to help? And the fact that I'm so disappointed in President Ramaphosa, because he should be the first one to speak about this. You know, at the moment today, EFF is going to picket at the Ugandan High Commission. This should have been President Ramaphosa. You know, it should have been him and his team talking about this and condemning this. Exactly as you said, Museveni was here a couple weeks ago, right? And again, for the fact that the borders are still closed, this is absurd. South Africans can go to Uganda without a visa, but we can't. You have to pay at least $120 to access even a 5-day visa. What is that nonsense? Like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
We need your help. We need your support. Like, we can't do this by ourselves, but we demand for world leaders to not be silent. You know, we demand for the people to hold the government of Uganda accountable to literally lose this bill, you know, just like they lose taxpayers' money. It's barbaric. It's senseless. Like, how can you not have remorse, you know, by bringing harm to someone else who hasn't even harmed you, right, who is simply living their authentic life?
Loud and clear, and you're right. You know, we've certainly, apologies for interrupting you there, we certainly had this conversation before. It almost feels like sometimes we're speaking in echo chambers. But until the conversations evolve into changing the material conditions of people on the ground, I think it's safe to say they're fruitless. But nonetheless, we appreciate you helping us shine a spotlight on this issue. Papa D is an activist, first non-binary queer activist in Uganda. Queer photographer, I beg your pardon. Also joining us there is Mpho Buntse, who's the spokesperson for Access Chapter 2. To both our guests, thanks very much indeed for your time.